We explore partly because we want to understand what's there. And right now in our solar system, it's robotic exploration, and we'll continue to send robotic explorers to places that we can't go ourselves. And there's many places in the solar system probably we'll never go. Mars is a different story though, because it's hard. I mean, it's far away compared to the moon. It's hard to get there. We still have to worry about radiation. The logistic supply chain for any long-term settlements on Mars would be difficult. We have to learn, if we're going to live off the Earth in the long term, we have to learn how to use local resources, because explorers forever, I mean, when after you crossed the Atlantic, you had a continent that you could live off of. You know, there was food, there was water. Right now, we can't do that on Mars. We have to learn. In fact, I'm working now on an experiment which is just a tiny baby step, but for the very first time, we'll launch in 2020. It's the Mars 2020 rover, which is essentially a clone of the current Curiosity rover, but it'll carry different experiments, and one of those, which I'm working on, will actually, for the very first time, produce oxygen on the surface of Mars. It's about 100th of the scale that we would ultimately need for a human expedition, but it's a start, and we'll take carbon dioxide out of Mars' atmosphere, electrolyze it into carbon monoxide and oxygen, and that will be a very significant first step towards learning how to live off the land on other planets.
A first step, but there are clearly tremendous obstacles to overcome. And apart from a scientific and physical obstacle, there's the fiscal obstacle as well, isn't there?
It is going to be expensive. It's hard to say what we can afford and what we can't afford. I mean, you look at the money that we spend on wars around the world. We can't afford to do that, we should say, but we do it. So what it will take to actually finance the human exploration of Mars is hard to say. There are big changes going on in the space world. We have in the United States now a lot of private companies. There's a generation of billionaires who are space nuts. It's great. You know, Jeff Bezos, Paul Allen, Elon Musk, Bob Bigelow, and so on. And what we're seeing now is private-public partnerships where NASA is working with these private companies, and right now it's just for transportation back and forth to the International Space Station, but we're getting it for a lot less money than when the government was operating the space shuttle. And I would hope that that will continue in the future. Elon Musk says he wants to go to Mars, and more power to him. I hope he's successful.
Would you like to be the first man on Mars?
I'd love to, although I would like to come back. I know there's some people talking about one-way trips to Mars. More power to them if they can actually survive there. I have some questions about that right now, but actually I don't expect to put my feet on Martian soil. I'm happy just to be able to send an experiment to Mars at the end of this decade that will produce oxygen on Mars, and hopefully that will be the first step on the way to eventual human exploration of Mars. So I'll have to be content with that, I think.